Good morning, everyone. My name is Benjamin, and welcome to our weekly updates of the 2020 elections. And today I want to do a few things before I actually get into this. I'm actually going to go map by map and talk about why I think what I do. This is, by the way, my model, which we'll get into why it's showing such an optimistic view of Trump for once. And yeah, so the first thing I want to state is I currently live in Virginia, and if you didn't know, the top three people in government, the governor, the lieutenant governor, and the attorney general, are all idiots. Two of them have dressed in blackface, one of them with someone standing next to them dressed in a Klan hood and robes. I'm laughing, and I'll explain why I'm laughing in just a second. Then that would be Governor Ralph Northam. The Attorney General, I forget his name, apparently also was dressed in blackface before. And, well, the Lieutenant Governor may be falling victim to the fact he may or may not, probably likely is at the very least a sexual assault perpetrator, and at worst a rapist. So the reason why I'm laughing at our governor and attorney general is because, you know, they probably accused their Republican opponents of being racist. I'm certain Northam accused Gillespie of racism during the gubernatorial elections. And then to have this come out, I mean, come on now. That's just hypocritical at best. And projection at worst. And actually, I think it's probably projection rather than hypocrisy, because hypocrisy is at least understandable. Projection is, yeah. And this makes you question the Democrats' attacks of racism towards the Republicans anyway, so, you know, I'm less inclined to believe it. So, yeah, there's that. Again, I think all three are complete idiots. And you would have thought that good opposition research would have found it, or even good internal research would have found it before the election. But nope, that didn't happen. Anyway, so getting into this is my model. I'm tempted to change the way I use these ratings. So this is within 5, within 10, within 15, just to show a little bit more, a little bit different. But I also like showing tilts as being even closer. You can make the argument this vote in Nebraska isn't up for grabs, but the way I have it, let's go up to Nebraska right here. I think the Republican needs to get 58% of the vote statewide to truly have a guarantee of narrowly winning that 2nd congressional district, and the Democrat needs to be below 38. So you've got about a full percent there. I think you could easily argue that that demonstrates that a Democrat could or would win that as of right now. And you look at the national poll average I have. By the way, I do think this is a reasonable amount to have the economic factors. I don't think the economy is bad. I don't think it's superb, but it's doing decently well. So that's kind of why it's where it is, rather than starting to stagnate or whatever. So the reason why I think that this may be because right now we don't have an opponent, we don't have any specific polls of Trump versus a generic Democrat, stuff like that. We instead only have we instead only have approval rating, and right now we don't have a lot of approval rating polls, and we have quite a few from this is not a Rasmussen poll. This is I think it's a YouGov poll or a Harris poll. But at least 3 of 26 are Rasmussen polls, and 2 actually show him in the positive. And that, I don't want to say that's throwing off the numbers, I just don't have enough high quality polls yet. And actually it's out of 24, so an eighth of the polls show him in the high 40s to low 50s. So that could be the factor, though we also have these, and these are the averages from previous months. And this definitely drags Trump down a little bit. So if he didn't have a terrible January, you could potentially see this at 46%. So that's why the national polling average, let me just go back to here and click that just for my own sake. So this brings it to a less than a 5% margin. If I were to put this at 3%, I highly suspect that these states would flip. But notice how they're all leans Democrat. Pennsylvania leans the least, Michigan the most. So there's that. Anyway, so let's go and reset the map, and I'll show you what I am looking at in terms of and let me show you what I'm considering. So I'm going to wipe out the states that I really don't expect Democrats to compete in a tremendous amount. And remember, for this map, shading is based off of my confidence level in the prediction rather than what I think the margin of victory will be. There we go. So if you take safe states, and these are states that either went to the Republicans for the past 3 cycles, or have Republican trifectas, or just are historically very Republican and haven't shown any indication that they're going to go the other way. Same thing with the Democrat ones. Moving on to the likely states, going through the Republican states first. These are states that are solidly Republican but have started to show signs that Democrats can compete, both in federal level elections and occasionally in state level elections. And same thing, but the other direction for Democrats, or these are former Republican or former Democratic states that have just been moving in the other direction significantly. There truthfully aren't that many likely states across the board. Then moving to states that leans Republican or Democrat, these are states that are historically these are states and regions that maybe are historically Republican or historically toss-up, but that have enough of an advantage to that party. Again, same thing with the Democrats. Or states that are moving the other direction, but haven't completed the crossover just yet. And then tilts are states that I would rate as true toss-up, but I don't believe in having a full true toss-up. Actually, I'm going to believe in Florida. And my reasoning for this is because my model seems to indicate that Pennsylvania is more Republican than Wisconsin, and as far as I can tell, that is correct. Florida tends to go with incumbents, and again, I'm also giving Trump a sizable incumbency advantage in terms of forecasting, because I believe that is the correct thing to do. As much as a lot of people are probably going to criticize me for that decision, it's the correct one because incumbents tend to win here in America. I do believe that Democrats can improve over Hillary Clinton, but it would take a generic Democrat who is scandal-free and who doesn't really have anything going against that person. Anyway, so that's what I'm looking at for now. I don't really see a point in updating the Senate race. Again, I think no state's going to disagree with its presidential candidate, except for maybe Maine and Michigan, but that's very dependent on how well Suzanne Collins does and whether John James runs, and of course what the presidential outcome is going to be. House, I will not predict it, and the gubernatorial races, I'm only covering these three for right now because it's 2019 rather than 2020. And I don't see any of these states rejecting their incumbents as of right now. Anyway, I want to thank everyone for watching. I hope you all enjoy. I'll see you guys next time. Take it easy. Bye.